cup at a time. Tea time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. Yeah. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. Yeah. Time.
Well, welcome everybody. We're back for afternoon tea. And isn't that song just a driving, like it just gets you moving, like let's go, let's pour some strong tea, right? So we are back this afternoon with our second tea time of this week, June 22nd of 2023. Almost at the end of June. Who knew, right? That we would make it this far. So we have an incredible guest in the back, sitting in the back studio, Lillian Brummet, who is from Brummet Media Group. She's an author, she's a blogger, she's a poet, she's all of those incredible things. But we're going to get the disclaimer going, and then we're going to get a little bit more into the bio, and then we're going to get Lillian in here, and she's just going to spill a good, strong TEA with all of you guys today. And we're going to learn about media, humanitarian aid, works, all of that good stuff, because I did my homework on this girl. So let's get started here. So disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time Live Show. Miss Liz, myself, is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forth in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that the show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect your wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all tea times this year in 2023 are done on Thursday, unless it's a rescheduled tea time, then it'll be Monday or Tuesday. So now let me give you a little bit on Lillian. Well, Lillian is flying solo today. She's doing the solo hummingbird today. Lillian, her husband, Dave, are the team behind Brummet Media Group, high-fiving cheerfully as they pass each other on the way from checking off one item or others from their long list to do. Their business includes Dave's music studio and percussion repair services, numerous award-winning nonfiction books, a YouTube channel, and 2 popular blogs. You can get more on their website, or you can check them out on Amazon on their author pages. And we're going to get Lillian in here, and I'm going to sip on some maple tea because that's what Miss Liz is drinking. We're doing Canadian maple tea today. So welcome, Lillian. It is an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have to say, Canadian tea, Canadian guest, that's a good combination there.
Right?
Yes.
We got to keep that maple strong. We got to just keep serving strong women and strong maples, right? Because that's what I do.
Well, absolutely. And, it supports a living forest. Every time that we're purchasing from products that encourage farmers, agriculture to keep that living forest happening, maple is one of them, comes from living trees, right? So we want to support that.
Absolutely. And you're a tree girl because I've done my homework. You guys do a lot of humanitarian work besides the media group. So let's switch it a bit. Since we're talking about the maple, let's do the humanitarian work first, and then we'll get into the
Okay.
media stuff. So I did find that you guys received some amazing awards from British Columbia uh, for the community hero by LiveSmart BC program, Seeds of Diversity. Could you tell us a little bit about that one?
Okay, so the first one that you mentioned actually came from the government of BC, and it was an
Oh,
award for being, an advocate and being proactive and hands-on participation in making the world a better place. The second one that you're talking about from Seeds of Diversity, they gave us this couple of different certificates, and one of them was one of appreciation for our support of their nonprofit organization. So Seeds of Diversity is like a sister organization with many other seed saving organizations, such as there are a couple in the UK, there's one down in the States. All of these organizations sort of pool their resources together. They partner, they help each other. They come to people's aid when there's disasters, when there's epidemics or any kind of, impact on agriculture. They're there to back up those seeds for those people in those industries. And so what they do is really, really important. They also prevent seeds from going from extinction. So what we have is all of these, old small farmers, old families that are slowly moving away from the small farms. And while small farms and gardens is now coming back up into like popularity, that genre is definitely growing now. At the same time, when the older generations start selling out their properties and moving away from what they're doing, there's potentially lost seed varieties. And so, old family heirlooms, people used to give away seeds as, gifts in wedding gifts and things like that. And there's still cultures that still continue that today. And so, you never know where these little pockets of really interesting seed varieties that just end up going extinct. So organizations like this they embrace those. They start these grow out programs. They work with backyard gardeners, people who garden on their deck, anyone in anywhere who's willing to help grow out these seeds in a very specific, safe way. So we know for sure that those genetics are there. So I'm a huge proponent of what they do. We donate to them. We've worked with them. We've interviewed them. We've highlighted them. Used to run a radio show. They were guests on our radio show for multiple times. I mean, we've done a lot for the Seeds of Diversity organization. My biological mom got me involved actually in that organization because she had a small family farm that she was running and became very involved in the rare and endangered seeds and animals as well, like ducks and things like that. She would help get involved with that. And so she was my early steps, early introductions. She became a member of Seeds of Diversity before they had that name, 35 years ago. And so I kind of inherited that membership responsibility and went from there. But yeah, I'm really, really passionate about that particular organization, among others.
Well, you guys also donate seeds to low income gardeners, and you take bags of produce to the local food banks uh,
Yes.
with all of the seeds. So,
Yes.
do you have like a program that you do like every summer in the fall? Like when does this happen, or is it all year round?
Oh, it's all year round whenever we have extras. We will share with students that come through the studio and their parents. We will share with neighbors, especially elderly neighbors who are no longer able to garden and maybe, could potentially be struggling financially. I don't know their financial situation, but I always feel sorry for them, feel empathy for them. So I try to help out where I can. If it's extra to us, I'm going to give it it out to them. So we give it out in a lot of different ways. Dave's co-workers as well get, some as well when we're having huge harvests and I just can't keep up to the processing of it. And of course, when there's boxes that we, large harvest, we'll take it down to the food bank. We have a really interesting food program here locally. Through Gleaners and Grow Fresh program and a variety of other projects and programs going along locally in the Creston region. What they do is they work with seniors who have backyard gardens but can't physically work them anymore. So they'll get younger people who don't have backyard gardens to come in, or low-income groups to come in and start growing their own food on that property, and then they share it with the seniors that own that property. So there's another program that's called, I think, Harvest Share. It's literally what it is. So these volunteers go in to backyard gardens, where backyards, front yards, where people have fruit and nut trees that maybe they can't harvest. They can't physically harvest anymore. Maybe they don't have the time to harvest. Maybe they don't want all the fruit. So the group comes in, they harvest all the fruit. They'll give the owner a certain percentage or as much of that percentage that they want. And then they take the rest and they share it among the community. So it goes to places that feed the poor, local events, like if there's certain banquets and events going on, it goes there. It goes to the food bank. It goes to the senior center, a variety of different places. So it's a really cool food hub sort of network here locally.
That is really cool. Like you guys do a lot of stuff. You guys also receive some awards from like some incredible organizations and federations for your landscaping. Mm-hmm. You got some from Canadian Wildlife Federation, Pollinator Partnership, North American Butterfly Association, and the National Wildlife Federation. So I can just imagine your yard, like your like I'm sure you have a couple acres of land.
Actually, I don't. I have what might be considered a double lot in the city. It's a large lot, and we bought it as 12, almost 13 years ago. It was formerly a rental. And so people had been driving on the yard and it hadn't been hardscaped or landscaped. There was no fence. There was no gardens. The lawn was really beat up, if you even want to call it a lawn. It was basically a weed patch and lots of dirt patches and stuff like that. So it was a really abused lot, and we turned it around into the little park that it is now. So we have, I think, 14 or 15 different trees and shrubs. We have berries all over the property, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, yasta berries, hosta berries, currants and blackberries and goji berries. I mean, we have lots of food producing crops inside and outside the property. So we fence the entire property, not just the front yard, side yard, back, the whole thing, except for the part where we had to drive into the carport that we built. So other than having access to that, the whole thing is fenced in. And so that means the entire property that we're paying mortgage on, we're growing on. So we also, on the outside, we're, a resident of a city property, you're responsible for the land outside of your fence to the street for maintaining it. So, if it's lawn, you're watering it, you're mowing it, that kind of thing. So what we did instead of having lawn out there is we planted a bunch of pollinator friendly and habitat friendly shrubs and trees and bushes and things like that out there. So all along the outside of our property, we have a really nice system out there as well. Just this spring, we created yet another wildflower garden area specifically for wildflowers. I threw a few perennials in there as well. And we did this along the back side of the alley. So the back side of our fence has about 3 feet before the alley. And we converted all of that into growing space. And it's just going to be, it will be when all the seed comes in and the plants all, start up. It's very new. It'll be a solid hedge of pollinator friendly, beneficial friendly flowers and such going on out there. We extended it as well around the utility pole. So that means we're not out there weed whacking, we're not out there weeding, none of that. We have an irrigation line out there that's hooked up to the same system as our vegetable garden. So I just turn a tap and it waters out there. I no longer have to haul a hose over the fence or any of that kind of thing. So it reduces a lot of our work. It improves the neighborhood. It increases support for, beneficials in the area. But also, our yard is now going to be more productive because all of those pollinators are coming to the area, right? So we love it on all kinds of different levels. I can't tell you how many people stop, older people with their grandkids, walking along and having conversations about the butterflies or the bees or whatever that they're seeing in the various flowering, or the birds or what have you, the exclamations of the kids, the bonding that happens between them, the respite that people get when they walk along on a hot summer day and they're hitting those shade pockets that our gardens are providing the street, and reducing urban greenhouse effect in our particular neighborhood. We had people that have really enjoyed the improvement of the alley already, stopping and speaking to us. Even the postal person stopped and spoke with us about how it changes their day, brightens their day. And so it's really interesting to see the other effects that creating green space and doing something for the environment affects the community in a variety of different ways. It's not, just for the environment or just for the bees. It has a wide ranging effect.
Well, and it affects all ages too, right? Because you
Yes.
have like little kids to seniors who are just like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. I would love to see some pictures of the, because I'm in Ontario, so BC is quite a way. Everyone thinks that Canada only has Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa. We have BC, we have Edmonton, we have Alberta, we have Saskatchewan, Manitoba. There's so much people don't know about Canada that, we need to really get out there. Amazing job what you're doing, and I love how you're giving back. So how did you get from gardener to media?
Oh my goodness. Well, it all kind of grew at the same time. I actually grew up in kind of like an unstable, unsafe home environment, and I was on my own really young. However, there were a lot of people along the way, a lot of experiences, a lot of individuals who created these moments of inspiration, of insight, of positivity in my life. And that encouraged me to face the challenges that I had and to grow into the person that I am today. I developed like tenacity. I developed the passion for environment, and the personal purpose came in with my advocacy for others. So those are my TEAs. And
I knew you were going there.
And so, when I was young, I was very, very self-disciplined. Well, I still am. I developed that when I was very young, I guess is what I'm saying. I developed the self-discipline, the tenacity, the self-criticism, and the inner judge voice that I have is really, really loud. And it tells me all the time that I need to measure up. I need to measure up. So I always feel like I'm trying to do something positive in construction in order to meet the eyes of that girl in the mirror. I put myself through school. I put myself through college courses. I gained certification in hospitality management, food safe, nutrition, business management. And then I ended up meeting Dave, my husband, and I was 20 at the time. By the time I was 25, I had started my own business that I ran for 6 years. And at that point, my husband and I changed direction, and we started focusing on what we do now, the Brummet Media Group. So right at the time when I was merging my life with Dave's, and we were merging our business together, and I was fading my business out, that was a time when I was reaching out to my mother, and we were both reaching out to each other, trying to create a relationship again. And we bonded over her knowledge of gardening and the fact that her husband at the time, and she had this 5-acre farm. And so they were both chronically ill. And so I would go there after work, before work, on weekends. Dave would help too. We would go and we would help run this farm. And in doing so, this 5-acre piece of property, which was a beautiful park, by the way, it wasn't just a farm. I mean, it was flowers and berms and ponds and just beautiful, beautiful property. Everywhere you went was just beauty that they had converted that property to. And we were exposed to that. We were there to do the labor with them. We were there to help them maintain it. And I learned beside my mother. My mother was huge into educating herself. She was, reading every book in the library, every magazine she could get her hands on, and then she would experiment. And then I got to learn secondhand from that. So she would tell me the best of the best, and I would learn that way. So that really sparked my interest into the gardening and the seed saving and all of that. So when I started, the career of writing, that was one of the topics that I ended up writing about. One of the first people I interviewed was my mom about her seed saving experiences, and working with the Seeds of Diversity organization. And then soon after that, the publication I was working for wanted me to do an interview with the Seeds of Diversity organization. So those connections that I had slowly developed and slowly been introduced to, also merged with my writing career. And I think the effect that had, the impact that had, helped me focus my direction in not just having a writing career and not just having a business and being an entrepreneur, but doing that in such a way that it was making a difference. So I would write about topics I cared about, I was passionate about, I wanted to throw some advocacy towards, something I really wanted to get behind. I'm going to write about it. So that's kind of where it started, and it's evolved from there to where we are now.
So Lillian, have you used your writing to save your life?
Yes, absolutely. As a young person, I turned to poetry because poetry for me was about expressing the rawness, the dirty rawness of self, and all the awfulness and all the purging and all the barf in my system. I could put on this paper, and then even years later, I would look back at them and I could see how I was growing, and I could come to a fuller understanding of where I was, why I was feeling that way. Because at the time, you're just feeling all of this stuff. And you don't know what to do with it. It's just overwhelming. So putting it on paper and just sort of purging and getting it out of my system was therapy for me. Later on, that therapy came in multiple times. Poetry has been my therapy, and it's been my sanity through all the different challenges that I had. And I always relied on it to be there. The only time that it hasn't been there for me was right after my parents took their own life. And at that point, it just left me, and I wasn't able to even put words on paper to communicate, to understand or process what I was going through. It was just this huge fog of heaviness, this big elephant sitting on my chest, and I couldn't get over that for the longest time. And I think what was so devastating for me about that was the loss of the power of the pen. I couldn't write it. And so it took about 6 or 8 months, maybe a year, before I started forcing myself. Because normally I come running out of the shower, dripping wet with a poem in my head, and I got to get it down. Or I'm coming in from the garden, covered in mud, shoes still on, making a mess of the house because I'm looking for something to write on right now, because I've got the perfect line or the perfect. So it comes to me in these blasts. But for this situation, it didn't. I had to force myself to write. And after a while, it started to come back, and I was able to really process it. And I think it evolved my writing. And when it comes to being a poet, it put me in a different level of writing. I got much deeper, much more mature, much more introspective, much more I don't know how to, it just much deeper into the poetry than I had been before. It was just another level for me. And so it's been fun experimenting with that. Lately, I've been writing quite a few poems, and I hope that we'll be able to do another third book in our poetry series. But yeah, I'm really enjoying getting back into it for sure.
Yeah, because a lot of people who go through trauma find writing heals, right? Because we want to purge that garbage. We want to pour it out, but we don't want to hurt others because we're already hurting ourselves.
Right.
So the paper and the pen can take that pain. It's almost like the pen is like the security blanket.
Yes.
It's not going to hurt you back, right? You can put it on that paper, you can rip it, you can burn it, you can save it. When you started writing poetry, Lillian, was it about any form of abuse or trauma or anything like that? Were they heavy poems, or were they like releasing poems? Or
Yeah, they were a lot of self-hate, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of criticism about society, um, a lot of angst was going on then. It took some time before I was able to write about it in such a way where I could say, hey, this happened. And so initially, it was more about the emotion as opposed to what happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, I as a survivor of abuse myself, I don't know your story. I know that it does touch home because I did do a lot of research on you, Lillian, and I know that you have a story, and that. So let's talk about some of the books that you've written besides the
Okay.
poetry books.
Mhm.
So, what was the number one book that you wrote first after the poetry?
Trash Talk. Trash Talk was is now a 2-book series. Initially, it was published in I think 2004 as a single book, based on a column that I had written. That column was published internationally, so it published in France and UK and the States and all over Canada, a couple of places in Russia. Like it had some readership out there, and then I think I did that column for about 7 years before I think it was 7 years before I turned it into the book format. And then in 2012, it evolved into a 2-book series. So it's a Trash Talk, It's Easy to Be Green 2-book series now. Yeah.
So, what is trash talk?
Okay, so it's talking about trash. I didn't realize Trash Talk actually had a sports thing. Like, I guess it's about bad mouthing another team or bad mouthing
Oh,
another player.
I just
I
learned
didn't
something
know
new
that.
too.
I'm not a sports person. So when I put that out there, my thinking was we're talking about trash. So really that's where it started. It evolved later to also talk about, how to reduce your costs around your home by looking at reducing our energy use, reducing our how much gas we're using, running our equipment and our machinery efficiently. And this is how you do it. How do you maintain your fridge? Well, this is how you maintain your fridge. This is the things that we teach in the second book. It goes a little deeper. The first book is where we list items that are commonly found in the trash bin or the recycling bin in your home or office. And so what we do there is we list them alphabetically and we share what is involved in the waste stream, how they can be recycled, and so forth, what happens in the recycling industry. But then we talk about the impact that recycling those items really does have. But then we look at other R's. There are about 9 or 10 R's. Can we reconsider? Can we repurpose? Can we rent instead of buy? Can we, there's all these R's to consider that each item, as it pertains to the item, we list those R's and give alternatives. Instead of putting it directly into the recycling system or the waste stream, maybe we could repurpose it in some way. Can we donate it to someone who can then repurpose it in some way, such as someone in a woodworking workshop who might use those little yogurt cups, those little tiny plastic ones for rinsing out their paintbrushes or to mix the glue for their wood or whatever. So there's things that we can do that help out others and help out others in the community with our so-called trash as well. Now, the second book does go a little bit deeper. So it's going to talk about like eco vacations and a chapter called Clean Walking, where we talk about responsible use of trails and how we can be proactive in cleaning up litter and all kinds of things like that. We talk about composting a little bit deeper. We talk about all different kinds of things, like I was saying before, how to save energy around your home, doing little tiny things. So here's a really good tip for Canadians in particular, or people who live in really hot environments as well. So every single outlet of your home, on the exterior of your walls, inside and outside exterior walls, you're going to see plugs, cable, outlets, light switches, various things are going to be inserted into your wall. Now, there are little kits that you can buy that are so cheap. They only cost a couple bucks. They come in a package of like 10. light switches or outlet switch. They're specific for that particular type of outlet or box. All you do is you take your little flat knife screw, you unscrew the plate off. There's only 2 screws. You take that plate off, you insert this foam insert, put the plate back on, put your screws back on. Really super simple. We're talking like a couple of minutes per outlet at the most. And you're going to save 15% on your energy costs by doing that one thing.
Wow. And where do we get these?
You can get them at your Home Depot, Home Supply type centers. Yeah.
Well, my spouse works at Home Depot, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, they're an excellent thing to invest in. They're they're very, very frugal, super easy to install, and your home improves because you have less drafts. You don't even notice that they're there, but they're there. And also, like for cooling and heating your home, you're going to save 15% on your home. So there's little things that you can do like this that can save a huge amount of money and make a big difference on the environment as well, just by being proactive in our own home and office.
I don't really. I hear Home Depot a lot in my home, so but I'm gonna go and check Home Depot for this because the energy costs are ridiculous.
They are.
So if you can save a couple of dollars, especially during this time, then go out and do that. I'm going to be checking for that, Lillian. So thanks for that little tip.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm going to tell him, hey, we have to go to Home Depot. And he's going to be, what? Are you sick?
And we need a flat head screwdriver.
So with Brummet Media Groups, you guys do a lot of things with music as well, and connections and writing. So how do people connect with you, Lillian? Like how do they come about?
Our main website is brummetmedia.ca, BRUMMET brummetmedia.ca. Getting mouth troubles now. So that's our main website. Of course, they can find us on Facebook and other social networking sites. Just type in Lillian Brummet or Dave Brummet, and you'll find us there. Amazon, of course, Lillian and Dave Brummet, type our name in there and you'll find it. Whatever country you're in, you'll find us on your Amazon page for our books. Our main blog is the Brummet's Conscious blog. We get anywhere between 6,000 to about 20,000 per month visiting that blog. Our largest month of all the 20 years of running that daily blog was 146,000 in one month. But that was our largest peak of all time. That's very, very unusual. We're typically around the 6 to 15, but just recently this month we've had I think 25,000 so far, so it goes up and down. It's a really popular blog. Brummet's Conscious blog is what they need to do a search for. We have another blog that's called Drum It with Brummet, and it acts like a sister site to Dave's Angle Hill Studio Services. My husband is the drummer and the performer and the drum repair and service guy. He teaches private workshops, private lessons, and he does repairs and services. He figures no drum is beyond repair. In fact, he's taken drums that are entirely in bits and parts and pieces, putting them together and making an instrument, a playing instrument. So he's very passionate about not having things go to waste and helping out other organizations. He has this program called Drum It Forward. And that's where he takes all these bits and pieces of, parts that he's gathered all of these years or had given to him from retail stores where they like, where do these parts come from? And they give it to him because they're just loose parts, or broken drums that people just give him. They found it in their barn or something and they give it to him. And so he fixes these things up, and then he helps and he uses his various parts and pieces to help underprivileged students fix up their instruments, give them a used head that's better than their old head or something like that. So he does these types of things for underprivileged students, just unsung, it's just something he does. The other part of the Drum It Forward project is occasionally when he has enough supplies, he'll reach out to a few of the schools regionally. And he will say, hey, how about I come in, drop into your music room, we'll go into your closet, and we're going to figure out what we can do for you. So he'll repair their existing instruments, tune them, service them, but then he'll go into their boxes and their closets, and surprising things happen. About 5 years ago, we did our last one of the rounds, and he, I think it was Salmo School, a small region, a small city in this region, and they had an entire drum set. And also, I think it was either congas or timbales that were just all in parts and hidden in bits and pieces, and nobody knew. Like, it wasn't organized. This was there, that was there. So when he went into the closet and he hauled all this stuff out and then he puts it all together, they realized, holy heck, we have 2 now percussion instruments that these students can now have access to that they didn't even know they had. So it's really interesting for him to make that available as well.
So it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle for him.
It is. Yes, it is.
Does he amaze you sometimes when he puts all this together?
Oh yeah, and some of the things that he gets asked to repair, they can be very unique and unusual things as well. Back in Kelowna days when we lived in the Okanagan, he even repaired an antique like banjo-like instrument. I might not be using the right word, but it was a banjo-like instrument because it had a natural head on it. And so the circle part of the drum or of the guitar was like a drum. And so he ended up repairing that. I mean, you get some really interesting things sometimes.
Wow. Amazing. And again, giving back to the community, right? Giving back
Yes.
to the schools and that. So you're both big on humanitarian work and giving
Yes.
back to communities and saving energy and passing down the generations, because the seeds are passing the generations down, right? You're keeping those seeds alive. You're passing them down to different people, different age groups. Have you ever gone into the schools and give them seeds?
No, I have not. No. I'm actually very much an introvert, and so I very rarely go into the public. I'm
Also,
much more
Dave is
confident. Dave is the public guy. Yeah, whenever there's book signing events or he has to deal with a store regarding stock or anything like that, he's the one that goes in and he's the face. But when it comes to online stuff or media, this is where I come in, and that's the face that people see. So we split up. We do the 2 different things. He's very charming and very comfortable with people. I get really nervous, oh my God, someone's making eye contact, and I get really really nervous and
Don't look at me.
uncomfortable. And yeah, I don't really love it. So I kind of avoid it. Yeah.
So does Dave play the drums?
Oh yes, he does play the drums. He plays all different kinds of drums, from timbales to congas to djembes and ashikos and cuicas and them all. He plays them all the whackers and the whistles and he's got a drum kit, 2 different drum kits. In fact, his music studio takes over the lower half of our home.
Ooh.
And I mean, takes it over, and sometimes it bleeds up here as well when it gets overcrowded down there. He loves to make noise.
So he's a music man.
Yes, he is. Yeah, and he's also a member of the band Tantrum. It's like a rock cover band. They do like weddings and bashes and parties and things like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You guys are also part of the Nonfiction Authors Association. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's a few different associations that we're involved with. Nonfiction Authors Association is a great place for nonfiction authors to interact with others in that genre. Writing in the nonfiction genre is very different from the fiction or the poetry genre. And how you go about marketing, how you go about networking, all of that is completely different than how you would go about marketing a fiction or a fantasy or a romance or a children's book. And so getting together with others within a similar genre, even though their topics are going to be different, is very, very helpful. You'll meet people who run blogs specifically about that topic. And so they might want to have you in as a guest. or maybe they'll want to come on my blog and be interviewed, or there's different networking that can happen through being a member of associations like that. The Federation of BC Writers is another group that I've recently joined, among others. And this group is for BC writers here in Canada, the westernmost province of Canada. And BC's huge. Like, it's the size of California, Nevada, Washington, maybe Oregon. Like, it's huge. And so there's a lot of different people in the BC region. And I had the pleasure of this year finding ways of networking with people in that group as well. And it's been really interesting. It actually helped me find local writers that I hadn't known about right here in the Kootenays that I didn't know about. So I was able to, reach out and connect with them. Hey, I'm also a member of this group. And it sort of opens up that door, when someone comes to you as, hey, I'm also a member of this group, as opposed to knock, knock, you don't know who I am, a cold call. So it does crack open that door a little bit for, opening communications.
So how did you find out about all these associations?
Oh, hands-on leg work. You get on the computer, you do your searches, you type in your keywords. Every quarter we have a new, marketing plan, a new action plan that we're going to be addressing and aiming towards. And hopefully we've done the last quarter fully. Otherwise it bleeds forward into the next quarter. But we always make sure that we do one step, we work it hard, we move on to the next one. And so we always have something that we're going to be marketing or networking or reaching out to connect with a certain group of people, work it hard, and then move on to the next thing. One thing that I found really helpful, though, is keeping records of the places that I've been communicating with throughout the year. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but having just a brief spreadsheet that gives me some idea as to who I've contacted, when I contacted them, and what was said last, really helps me for doing any kind of follow-up activities. Or if they email me and they say, hey, 7 months ago I received an email from you, and I'm not going to remember. I'm sending out and responding to hundreds of emails a day, communications a day. I'm not going to remember 7 months ago. So I go onto my spreadsheet and, oh yeah, I have an idea of who they are and what, why I reached out to them and what I was thinking and stuff like that. So it really helps out that way. And doing the follow-ups at the year end as well. It's so helpful to have that spreadsheet to just make sure that nothing fell through the cracks. And you did all that work anyway. Why waste it? So I always make sure that I double down on that.
So Brummet Media has been in business for how long?
25, 27 years, I think, something like that. Yes.
So what categories do you work with? Do you work with different publicists, PR medias, authors? Like, who do you work with? What's your group?
Okay, so Brummet Media Group includes like the 2 blogs, the YouTube channel, our books, and the studio. So those are the main focuses. Okay. But with the blogs, we are able to work with all kinds of people. So like the Brummet's Conscious blog, for instance, I'll have like publicists come in. They might have an article. They might have an event that they're going to announce that would be benefit of our audience. They might come in for an interview to tell us about what it's like to be a publicist and how to approach a publicist these days. What are they looking for now? There are, agents and publishers and all different kinds of authors and other members of the media, radio hosts, podcasters, a variety of different individuals come onto the blog to help show our audience, our readers, a more effective way of reaching out to them and networking with them, and to learn more about their work too. So they get coverage, they get extra, reach, branding out there, but our audience, our readers, benefit from understanding what does this involve, what is their world like? So let's say I want to approach a podcaster, and I'm an entrepreneur, not an author, an entrepreneur, and I want to reach a certain particular type of podcast, and I don't know how to query them, or I don't know maybe what they're looking for or what have you. So reading some of those interviews are then going to help you understand what does a podcaster host want? What is their day like? How can I make my query more effective and them feel like I'm going to be easy to work with, that I'm not going to make them work for anything because I have everything ready for them because I did the research. So these kinds of things we offer on the blog. There's tons of articles, lots of resources. Every day there's something new.
So now I want to get into the purple snowflake marketing.
Okay.
How did you get that title? Because I was like, purple snowflake, I just like it. It's like really, like, it makes you want to know more about the purple snowflake.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad. Yeah, that was carefully chosen. We came up with a concept because, you're among the snowstorm of your peers, right? Whether you're an entrepreneur or an author or a podcast host or whatever, there's a snowstorm of peers out there. And so how are you going to stand out among those peers? Well, you do so by being a purple snowflake. So that's how we came up with that title. Really, you just want to do things that are that suit your uniqueness and your unique past experiences, your current location, your current circumstance. You're working with that, but you're also making sure that all of your efforts are super effective because you're educated and you know what they expect, what they need. But you also approach them in a different way. So, like we were talking about with making that connection with other local authors, if I'm a member of the group and I see that they're also a member of the group, or if I'm on LinkedIn and I also see them on LinkedIn, I can use that as my intro to them. Hey, I saw you on LinkedIn. I saw your post on this or that. I'm responding to this. And then, by the way, let's start networking. So you're coming at it in a different way instead of, hey, I'm an author, buy my book, or hey, I'm an entrepreneur, what
Yeah,
can you do for me, right?
Here's
So
my
there's a
book, buy
way of
it.
going about it. Yeah, to do things uniquely and more effectively. So one of the visuals I like to share in interviews like this that people seem to really get it is, okay, you're looking at a community bulletin board. Maybe it's at the college, doesn't matter where it is. There's a community bulletin board. And you go there and you look and you see, what are other people putting on that board? What size of papers are on there? What colors are people using? Then you go home and you think about how you can stand out visually on that board. Can I go with a different font, a different color, a larger font, a different shape? Can I do a triangle or a circle or an octagon? Or can I do like quarter pages and half pages? What are the things that I can do that I can stand out on that board among the snowstorm of the people on that board? So it's kind of how you go about most of your marketing. How are you going to stand out among them?
So you're kind of branding in a unique way.
Yes.
So you mentioned colors and shapes and all of that, and I asked you what your favorite color was, and you gave me a couple of favorite colors. So I want to get into those colors because colors tells me a lot about people.
Okay.
And you gave me purple, burgundy, brown, and blue. So
Yeah.
why those four colors?
I don't know. I just love them. I think blue makes me think of, summer days and lakes. Water is very healing. So it always makes me think of that. Blue sky, sunny openness, freshness. Green always makes me think of like renewal, spring, renewal, refreshing, nature, uh, uh, like turning a fresh page kind of thing. Purple is just a color I just really am drawn to. I don't really understand that one. Brown, I would assume the brown, the tans, those would be, I guess, maybe my connection to earth, like the soil itself. Maybe that's where it comes from. I'm not sure, but I really like different tones of brown too.
Yeah, that's what I was getting from the blues of the skies and the water, and then the browns were more like the earth and the composting and all of that because it's all
Right.
in the brown
Purple, the
shades, right?
flowers, maybe.
Purple might be the butterflies and the
Right.
flowers, right? We
Yeah.
just never know why we're drawn to certain colors. And then sometimes we're just like, it reminds us of a certain person. They might have wore a purple dress or a purple hat or something.
Right.
It could be something from childhood that it just came to you and you're just like, no, I'm just drawn to it.
Right.
Maybe you had a purple lollipop when you were,
And that was it. I was stuck on
that
purple
was
from
it.
that it. Yeah.
The purple lollipop got me, right?
You know, you mentioned earlier when you were introducing me, you said a solo hummingbird. And I thought that was really interesting because that's actually one of my nicknames is the hummingbird. And there's this really sweet elderly lady. She calls me her little flower, but she also refers to me as a hummingbird as well because I'm always so busy, doing things and involved in something. So I thought it was interesting that you mentioned that because I've been
Well,
called
when I
that.
asked you one word to describe yourself, you gave me the word hummingbird, and then I
Oh, did
actually
I?
found a beautiful song on Instagram with all the promotion. There's actually a song called Hummingbird, and the words just kind of give you that solo journey. You're with partners, you're with children and families and that, but the hummingbird actually does fly solo.
Hmm.
You never ever see, like, you'll see them coming like really fast because they're really fast birds, but I mean, you never see them in pairs, you
Right.
always see them solo.
Yes.
And that's what I got from it. Like, you and your husband have this business, but yet you're here as a solo hummingbird, and I just felt that it was a calling to say. uh so why the hummingbird for you, besides somebody calling you the hummingbird?
For me, um, the hummingbird, the hummingbird makes me think of a poem I wrote called Wings, Wings on a Breeze. It talks about the letting go of the past, the letting go of grief, the freedom of growing these little wings on my back that are just sort of sprouting out and wondering if they're going to allow me to take my own flight into the wind, is basically what the poem is saying. I think hummingbird represents that to me, their little wings and yet what they can do, the power that they have, the impact that they have. They're incredible pollinators. They eat a ton of mosquitoes and pests and things like that. Like, they are really good for the environment. They're beautiful, beautiful creatures. They are very proactive. They're out there working hard every single day, putting in the work, putting in the labor. No complaint. They're out there work, 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 like a busy little bee doing their thing, without needing someone to say, good girl, or congratulations, or needing someone else there. It's more of just putting on your big girl pants or your wings and going out and doing what needs to be done. And I think that is kind of the type of person I am.
I get that from everything that you do and everything you do for the community and all of that. You're just a go, 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 like a
Yeah.
hummingbird, right? The little wings are
Yeah.
just going.
I know, a little
And
too much
sometimes you're probably
sometimes.
sitting there and saying, how did I do all of that? Like, oh my goodness, I have this list. It's almost like the high fiving as you guys are going on your day, and you have
Yes.
this big list. And then you at the end of the day, you probably sit down together and say, we did it. Each one of us got this done, that done. Oh, okay, that didn't get done. We'll do that tomorrow. So that's that hummingbird again. Okay, I gotta go a little quicker
Yes.
maybe tomorrow. So what message would you like to give to anybody out there that would like to do or work with you?
I would love for people to reach out anywhere, anytime. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Alignable. Connect with us, leave a message, leave a comment on our, blog or YouTube channel. I would love for you to just reach out and connect with us. We have a lot of different things that we can offer for networking. We love networking if you're into that. We have, of course, our books on Amazon. Would love if people would check out our books on the Amazon that serves their area. That would be great too. My main message I would like to leave the audience with would be that every single second that goes by, we have had an impact. And when we raise our awareness, we start to become more aware of what that impact is. But then this is where the conscious discussions comes in, the conscious blog, the conscious work that we do is we're taking it the next level. You become aware. Awareness is the first step. Making the conscious choice, the conscious decision to use that moment to have a positive impact, a conscious choice that you're making, as opposed to going through life and just having these impacts and looking back and go, oh, I had these impacts that you may or may not have noticed. Every single second we're having an impact. What is that impact going to be? So I'd like to have people maybe ask that question of themselves.
Well, thank you for sharing all of this today. And I'm seeing why my three guests are lined up again this week. Like the universe is just working their magic. This morning we had Autism Warrior Mom, and then we have Lillian from Brummet Media Group, who's the hummingbird. You know, we got some really strong people today, some really strong, amazing women today. Today is an all woman day show. At 7 p.m., we have another incredible lady coming in from Australia who's originally from Peru. So we're going to be bringing in two different countries. But I feel the universe is saying, Miss Liz, listen, every week they're aligning, they're growing together, they're being planted, the seeds are being planted, let them grow, and let's see where it goes. So I really want to thank you for all of the work that you're doing with the seeds and the wildlife and the awareness on environment and taking care of all of that stuff, Lillian, because that's amazing.
Thank you.
You're also on Goodreads as well as Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I found you there. So anybody who would like to go out and get a copy of your books or anything like that, you can get them on Amazon. You can get them on Goodreads. You can get them on their website. So if you'd like to just spell out your website for the audio listeners, so they can reach out to you, Lillian, that would be
Sure
good.
thing. The main website is brummetmedia.ca. That's BRUMMET media.ca, brummetmedia.ca. And of course, our the main blog that we were talking about earlier is Brummet's Conscious blog. You can find that at consciousdiscussions.blogspot.com. That's consciousdiscussions.blogspot.com. And the name of that blog is Brummet's Conscious blog.
So, and you can find all of this on your brummet.ca, correct?
That's right. There should be links to everything there as well. Yeah. Or just do, an internet search. Just type in Dave and Lillian Brummet. Dude, you're going to have pages and pages and pages of links that come up. Honestly, I mean,
right?
After 30
Do
years
Google
of the
searches,
business, right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I was told that a few years ago. Every 30 days, do a Google search to see what
Yes.
else comes out on you. It's not to feed the ego or anything, but it's to find out if anybody, like if you've done an interview, if you've been in a newspaper, if somebody has written something about you. It's a good way to know what's going on and keep on top of what's out there as well.
Oh, absolutely. And you can, send out your announcements and, keep your records up to date. There's a great number of members of the media out there who don't have the time to do the follow-up activities, such as, let someone know that, hey, your article was published. So, doing those internet searches really do help with that. And then you can, like I say, go and finalize your comments in your records and then make sure that it's listed on your media page and you're out there promoting those links as well. So you don't want any of that stuff going to waste. And you're right, you want to make sure that nothing is being used or said about you that is, not something that you want online. So keeping aware, absolutely.
Yeah. I learned that a couple of years ago when I started writing books, when I was in anthologies, and people were trying to take my pictures and saying that they wrote in books. And I was like, I didn't write that book. And so you really want to have that awareness right out there. And being a media group, you really want to keep on tabs because you might get something, a link, and then you'll be like, oh, I'm not too sure about that person. So you want to inform that person and you want to say like, hey, I found this about you. Do you know about this? It also brings that open conversation of clients and that as well. And I love the spreadsheet because I'm the same way. I like to keep in contact with all of my guests and all of that. So they don't just come and sit here for 1 hour with me. I actually poke on them. Like if they have new updates or anything like that, I post those as well. So if you have any of those things in the future, Lillian, I would love to share them. Do you have any events that you and Dave have coming up in the future?
Events, no, not right away. I mean, there's gigs, lots of gigs with the bands and, events in the studio that are private, really private workshops and private events and things like that, private parties. So not too much to announce here as far as events go, but activities, yes. We're currently in the stage of finalizing a trilogy that we're releasing this summer, late summer now. I was hoping to have it around midsummer, but I think it's going to be late summer now when this comes out. And this is actually a series that's encompasses Dave's late father's writings. So his short stories, his poetry, his family memoirs, and his photography collections are all being worked into this trilogy. We're at the formatting stage, final, cover design stages. So one book at a time. We're going to be releasing them in the very near future. We always feel like things are going to happen quicker than they do. So I hate to put an actual date on things, but it will be coming out this late summer for sure. Behind the scenes as well, I'm working on a manuscript for a backyard garden guide for people who are looking at turning their garden or their lawns into food production. And so that book will be coming along to help them out in that regard too.
Well, thank you so much, Lillian, for joining me today on Tea Time. And it was amazing having you here as a guest. And I learned so much about flowers, butterflies, media, authors, poets, poetry. I've learned it all this afternoon. So for everyone out there, share this Tea Time. If you're looking for an enjoyable tea time to learn a lot about the environment, to learn a lot about gardening and seeding and media, we got it all on this Tea Time. So shares. If you'd like to follow all of the Tea Times, give the YouTube channel of Miss Liz a follow, a subscribe, and ring that doorbell. So if you ring the doorbell, the little bell on the YouTube channel, you'll be notified for all of the Tea Times when they go live. So again, thank you so much, Lillian, for joining me today on Tea Time. And I will be back at 7 p.m. with the last Tea Time with Karen O'Connor from Australia. So we're going to be talking about speaking authentically. So that should be an incredible one as well. So I'll see you all then. Until then, serve your tea.